Welcome, sentient beings from all known universes and beyond. It's time to activate your cranial downlinks and prepare to receive a raft of discussion on a cosmic ocean of science fiction and fantasy topics, interviews with local area genre devotees, and insightful prognostication by our soothsayers of science fiction, our forecasters of fantasy, and any other beings that happen to get caught in our gravity well. This is the Galactic Driftwood Podcast.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Galactic Driftwood Podcast. I'm Bill.
I'm John.
I'm Linda.
I'm Seth.
I'm Chris.
And this week we've got some fun stuff to talk about. First of all, I think we're going to start with Old Guard, which is a new movie that's out on Netflix right now, starring Charlize Theron. And it's about a group of immortals. And I guess, let's see, John, you've seen it. So you want to give us, we've all seen it, yep. So, John, you want to give us a little synopsis about the show?
It's an action flick.
Yeah.
Immortals, a common trope, but it's like a new way of looking at it. It's like rather than there being only one, there's a group of them.
Yeah, and in my mind, based on what we've seen in the series, there's very few of them. They get revealed to other immortals at some point in their life. And it seemed to me with the woman that was in the military where she got her throat slit.
Oh, the new one.
Niles.
Right.
Or Nile.
Yeah. It wasn't until she came back, I think, that the other immortals realized she was an immortal. So I think somebody has to die.
They started dreaming of her.
Yeah. Yeah, but was it after she had her throat slit?
Yeah. So when she died,
or didn't die,
died
Spoilers.
for the first time, suffered fatal damage.
Right.
She dreamed about them, and they dreamed about her.
Right. But
So
before that, they knew nothing about each other.
Right.
And so based what we see in the movie, it looks like going back to ancient times, there were two women that were immortal that found each other, but they were the only two that existed as far as they knew. And for the longest period of time until like maybe the 1400s or something when the next one came along, and then maybe the 1700s for the next one or something like that. So there's not very many of them. They don't get revealed very often.
Yeah. So
go ahead.
Yeah. Andy is Charlize Theron's character is the oldest of these immortals.
Like several thousand years old.
Yeah. And she's the one who's basically found them all.
She almost predates agriculture.
Right.
She might. But
don't tell her she's older than dirt.
That was Bill. That's a whole new level of just bad.
I mean, she
good.
probably makes that joke herself when she's not.
Yeah, probably. So, anyway, the thing that I think that makes it interesting is that at some point in their lives, and they don't know when, the immortality wears off.
Yep.
And they can so they could be in a fight or something and get wounded, and suddenly they don't heal anymore. And at that point, they know if they get a critical hit, they're done. And
Everything that lives must die.
Right.
It seems like they're pretty excited for that day too. They like kind of want it to come.
Only one of them is really like looking for death, I think. Like Andy's character is...
Yeah, the one looking for death because of
the age, I would say, has morphed her into like, I'm just done with this at this point.
You're a little quiet there,
Chris.
Chris, can you turn it up?
I can try.
So let me ask you this question, Chris. Let's say you had immortality. All right. Do you think there would be a point, and maybe it's 1,000 years, 2,000 years, 10,000 years, a point at which you would find that immortality a curse and you would no longer want to be around? You'd be done with it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think over time you're sick of seeing it all, right?
Yeah,
You see nothing but death. You've seen life, but you've probably seen a lot more death at this point.
Right.
You've seen where things are good and you've seen where things are bad. And at some point, you don't get a release from it, right? You get everyone else who passes away at some point and doesn't have to suffer through it, if you will. And you're tired of it.
Mm-hmm.
See,
Yeah,
I
agree.
I think this, or the old guard, addresses that question pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
In that Andy, the oldest of them, is really worn down. But one of the reasons that she's so worn down is because, like, she's had this purpose that has kept her going, and she's lost sight of it.
Yeah.
And that purpose being finding her original mate?
No,
her
purpose is, like, helping humanity.
Okay.
Right.
And you see that right.
She no longer sees where she's making a dent.
Yeah, you see that right from the very beginning, where she's just tired. She took a year off, or however long she took off, and she she doesn't see that they're having a positive impact, and she says the world is worse than ever. I mean, I didn't like that part because the world is actually better than it's ever been. But and you'd think that an immortal who is around since before air conditioning would know that.
But do you think it's it's kind of the same thing where you see, as people age, they get into their senior years, they're complaining about, the world's going to hell in a handbasket sort of thing. The young kids today don't have any respect for anything.
It don't cost a nickel. Yeah.
Get off my yard.
Yeah.
Get off my lawn. Get off my lawn.
And would it be the same thing with an immortal, where the older you get, the more disgusted you are with the changes that you see in society? Not just, I'm not talking about technology changes, because granted, there's been a lot of technology changes that have dramatically improved the world, as far as agriculture goes, as far as human comfort, with air conditioning and medical and all of that kind of stuff. Yeah, there's been those kinds of things, but would you feel that there has also been a degradation of societal norms as to how well people treat each other in general?
I don't really think, I don't think so, because, I think that whole things were better when I was a kid or when I was young thing would definitely fade after 200 years.
Well, it's like, but things have changed a lot in 200 years.
You'd get a lot of, you'd see so much change that you would.
In 200 years, there's only 1 billion people 200 years ago. Now there's almost 8. In fact, I think Andy would be the perfect person to ask about all that social change, because she would have seen human populations go from handfuls of band level villages to the megacities we have now. She would, as far as the disintegration of culture, it's just different. I mean, when you have 8 billion people compared to 100 million people, individual human life doesn't mean as much.
I would argue that from her perspective, that's not quite true.
Why?
Because she spent her entire thousands of years of existence fighting to protect people who needed protecting. She done that
to protect people that she actually knew. She actually met. No, it was hands-on. She actually was right there with those people. She wasn't going to ignore people she knew.
No, because she was there. That's where she was at the time. She was limited.
And every time that she did it, she was there at the time.
Except as soon, we are in in the present, in the movies, we find out that they are just like, they take whatever jobs they can.
Well, I think she did that all by herself, for the most part. She didn't meet up with those other 3 guys until much later.
Yeah, but where we are in the movie, they take whatever jobs they can to make the world a better place. Like, that's their deal.
Why would they do that? I mean, they could just start. They could do a basic, straight-up Futurama bank account where they put like a penny in, and like a few thousand years later, there's like a lot of money in there.
Because they need a purpose. You need something to keep you going.
Right. But it's nice to have a buck or two on the side. I don't know that they have.
Aren't they taking jobs for money?
Yeah. They get paid for
I mean, that's how it kind of starts out.
But they take the jobs that they want to take, which are saving people.
The idea of broke immortals doesn't sound like fun.
I don't know if I agree with that Seth, where they're taking jobs necessarily to save people. Yes, they're not trying to do any harm. They want to do stuff that is not bad or evil, but they're trying. The impression I got from it was that they were trying to take jobs that were very low profile because they didn't want to come up on the radar. They don't want to be seen because that will give them away.
Yeah, they do want to keep low profile, but like in the very first scene where let's see, James Copley. Yep. James Copley, the ex-CIA operative, is trying to convince them to take a job. And the way he's chosen to convince them is that there are a bunch of girls need saving. Like, that's how they are convinced to kind of come out and take this job. And that's, like, from what I was given to understand about the movie is that's the type of jobs that they've been taking. Mm-hmm. These where they save innocents. They talk about a couple job that they did where they were saving hostages, and they are apparently the best at what they do at this sort of rescue kind of thing.
Right. Well, as you would be after hundreds of years.
But yeah, they're not.
One would hope so.
I would wonder in previous jobs whether they eventually got to the point where that's what they wanted to do versus, maybe 50, 100 years ago, were they doing any kind of job?
Right.
I'd be curious to know what they were doing or what led them to that point, because they don't give us too much of a glimpse in that. What they do show us is historically over time, they fought in a lot of different wars and a lot of different battles on a lot of different sides. Mm-hmm. And as they ultimately came together, now they're banded together doing something which to us looks good. And I don't know if they just did that to present a good field or to relate better with those characters that, they're saving people and whatnot. But I would almost be curious over the last couple 100 years, what kind of jobs have they been taking? What have they been doing? And I would almost bet based off of a couple of characters and their personalities that maybe it wasn't all good.
Yeah.
Well, certainly not in medieval times.
Right.
Yeah, they say they fight for what they think is good, or what they think is right.
All the actors portrayed that deep time look on their face, and it's like their eyes were like basically, and this is good acting, telling me that they've seen stuff that they would rather never ever have seen, and done things that they would rather never have done, and you felt the gravity of history on their face.
Well, and I think
very good.
Yeah, and I think that, John, that's a good segue into what I think is one of the most horrific concepts presented in the series, and that was Charlize Theron's, the first woman that Charlize Theron recruited into the group, the second immortal, right? That it was a woman. They became good friends. They fought together, throughout many hundreds of years, I guess.
Gotta explain that the immortals are random. They're born and they don't know they're immortal. I guess until their first injury.
Right, and we kind of touched on that with that.
Their first fatal injury.
Right, that's
military
what
woman activates it. It seems.
So that's like immortality, puberty. That just bing, there you are.
Well, they talk about that in that, apparently the first few times it takes them longer to heal.
Right. Right. So anyway, this woman that she finds, and I can't remember
Quinn.
Quinn, that's right, played by Ngo Than Van, right? If I'm saying that right, I hope I am. Anyway, so the two of them are just, it's like the ultimate buddy thing, which of course it would be, because you'd be the only two immortals that you knew in the world, right? And the only person that wouldn't grow old and die on you, or so you would believe. But so they fight together for maybe hundreds of years, but then when they get to the Middle Ages,
probably closer to 1,500 years.
Yeah, right. Okay. So, but then when they get to the Middle Ages, they're somehow at that point, people are starting to realize that these two never age and can't be killed. Right?
Well, what happens there is they are rescuing women who've been accused of witchcraft from one of the Inquisitions, and then they get captured and tortured, and that's how the Inquisition finds out that, oh, look, witches, these are witches.
Yeah, because they can't kill them, right? Because what do they do? They hang them, they try to...
So for a while there, they were subjected to a lot of torture. It was just, they definitely had a really dark period in their life where they were just subjected to all the worst things.
Right. And, in my mind, that would be something that would really jade you toward the rest of the human race, I would think. And I don't know how Charlize Theron's character did not just go totally down the dark side when that happened. But anyway, or what ultimately happened. So what we see happen is the Inquisition can't kill them. And so instead they decide to implement this, what I call maybe a final solution, where they take this Quinn woman and they put her in the equivalent of like an Iron Maiden kind of a thing. It's like an iron chest. There's Quinn, a photo of Quinn. And so they put her into this iron sarcophagus kind of thing, but it's open so you can see her face. And then they take that sarcophagus and put it on a ship, carry it out to sea, and throw it overboard somewhere. And so it sinks to the bottom. And what you see is this Quinn woman repeatedly over hundreds of years, every few minutes, she drowns, dies, wakes up, drowns again, dies, wakes up. And this is just going on repeatedly over centuries.
Brought to you by the Roman Catholic Church, the same people who brought you the anal pear and the bronze bull, where they used to stuff people inside and then set a fire under it so that they'd roast alive inside of it.
Right.
Yeah, right. The Inquisition had some really neat, fun things that they like to do to people.
Creative. Neat, fun. Weird adjectives for that.
But imagine how horrible that would be to be, on the bottom of the ocean. You can't die. All you do is repeatedly drowned every 30 seconds or a minute over hundreds of years.
Well, it's like that had me afraid in Highlander. When I first saw Highlander, the very first thing I thought about was being buried alive and having to be buried alive forever.
See, I'm glad you brought up Highlander, because that's what I kept thinking about during this movie.
Yeah. But there doesn't have to be only one. In fact, it almost seemed the way they implied this role is like that there should be, that there is always almost at least two.
The Old Guard is kind of the reverse of Highlander, whereas in Highlander there can be only one, and they were all gathering to fight and kill each other. This is far more, they're much more invested in the world than the Immortals were in Highlander, and they're drawn together not to kill each other, but to support each other.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that would be the horrific thing to me. And it almost kind of reminded me of, there's a Twilight Zone too, where this guy makes a bargain with the devil for immortality, but then he's arrested and sentenced to life in prison. It's that kind of thing where,
the Rod Serling approach to immortality.
Right. So it's that kind of thing where, you have immortality, but think of all the horrible downsides to that that could occur.
And they say that's their greatest fear, is that's why they can't be captured, is because they're all terrified of being locked away like that.
Right.
And I get that.
Right. Or in this case, captured and used as medical guinea pigs to try to find some way to, create life extending pharmaceuticals. Right.
Yeah. So, I mean, we haven't really talked about how each of these individuals is basically a peerless warrior. They are the 4 and eventually 5 most dangerous people on the planet.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like it's completely folly to piss off someone who you can't kill and who is singularly more dangerous than an entire heavily armed squad of mercenaries.
I will say the opening message of the movie presenting that was pretty epic.
Yeah.
Nothing cooler than Andy running around with a battle axe. Like, you get some movies where people are carrying around cool weapons, you never really get to see them use it. And then the first 15, 20 minutes, maybe, you get her running around with a battle axe, using it, and just taking out.
Well, yeah. But who can use a battle axe in a gunfight? An immortal.
She can.
An immortal. Yeah. Someone who can get shot a few times and not care.
Right.
Yeah, so you see, like, that is a great scene. That first scene where they realize that they have been betrayed by Copley, and the lights come up and the soldiers come out and they're all just like, damn it.
Yep.
This is going to sting.
So Copley basically sent those guys to their death because he knew that they were immortal.
Yeah, he pretty much figured it out, and this was to prove it.
I don't think he realized. I think he thought that he was going to capture them right there.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't think he realized that they would pop up and be quite so combat ready in such a short amount of time.
Right.
Because you see him watching the video, and he's like, "Oh, fuck me."
Yeah. So there's Linda's put up an image there on the screen. So there's the mercenaries, and you can see a couple of them in the center there. The flare of the fire from their weapons, and then on the ground you see all the immortals that have been shot and theoretically killed. Although we see them slowly, their bodies are purging out the metal shell fragments that they've been hit with and healing, and before you know it, they're up and just wiping everybody out. So,
and I will say one thing I appreciate about the combat: this wasn't like long distance firefights or anything like that. This is very up close and personal. When they're fighting, it's like gun to the chest, gun to the face, not hitting you from across the room. All of them were very close and personal in combat.
Right.
Well, I mean, that's how they would have grown up, probably.
Yeah.
It would be interesting to see, like, Nile. She's the newest. She's the one who gets killed and recently wakes up. It would be interesting to see what her fighting style is in another 500 years or so. So she's started fighting with long-distance weapons and less up-close and personal.
Yeah, where everyone else would have been daggers and swords or spears and stuff like that. But their holding has changed. It's now guns, but they're all still very up-close and personal. So Nile, like, it'd be cool to see that. I agree. Over a few hundred years, what her fighting style becomes.
Yeah, but it can't be denied that axe that Charlize Theron's character has is fucking sweet.
It is sweet.
That's going to be, I think Ogram needs that for his...
Oh, I know. Watching this movie, I'm like, Ogram's going to make himself a special axe.
That would be awesome. Yeah, well...
And you're going to enchant it.
I like it. One question I had, though, is at one point towards the end of the movie where they're in a battle at that pharmaceutical company, and the two guys, I can't remember what their characters' names are.
They are, it would be, I believe, Nikki and Joe.
Nikki and Joe, right. And so they're fighting, but at one point, one of the bad guys in that episode shoots one of them in the head, right? Kind of blows the back of his head off. And of course, it takes him a little longer to heal, but eventually he does heal and come back. And, you know, in my mind, when you destroy someone's brain, which controls all of your autonomic processes and everything, how do you recover from that? And how do you rebuild a brain if you could do it?
How do you
rebuild it
fix
with all
memories that you had to have lost? You know?
Rebuild it with all the neurons and dendrites in the right connectivity order that you have all of the memories that you started with.
Nikki and Joe.
Yeah, they're there. That's when they're being grabbed by.
Yeah, so that was actually a fantastic scene.
It was.
Like
Yep.
they get captured, and now I'm forgetting their names again.
Nikki and Joe.
Nikki or Joe.
Well, yeah, but Joe is he's the guy with the beard, I think. Yeah, Joe's the guy with the beard, and so those two are in the picture. You can obviously tell they're together, but when they're Nikki hasn't woken up yet, and he's really worried, and one of the soldiers goes, "Oh, is he your boyfriend?" And Nikki's just like, "You are a child."
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And
I love that part.
has this fantastic speech. It's like about just like how much they've been through and what they are to each other, and just like
beyond
over how
anything
much
that guy
time.
could even imagine.
Yeah. And he just shuts him the fuck down.
I know, they had nothing to say after that.
And then they kiss, and then for longer than you'd think would be in most TV shows, they get a good kiss in there, and then those soldiers react like
Good 5
they're
Mississippis
trying
on
to-
that one.
Yeah, they're like,
Right, that's enough of this. Just shut this down.
right.
this is going to go on for a while. We got to stop this before it goes.
Before we get involved.
One Mississippi.
Yeah, that was-
Right.
two Mississippi.
That was homophobia shut down really well. It's like that speech and then that kiss.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
That was an epic scene. I like that one.
So it sounds like this is they're trying to make this a trilogy of movies. So
I'm
there
sure
could
that
be
they
2
will.
more movies. I always thought it would be a good series too, but
I would watch 2 more movies of this.
oh yeah,
dude.
definitely. It was very
It's good.
well shot, well acted, good premise.
Can we
And,
just declare Netflix the winner of all of these like cable wars? Because it's like I thought Disney was going to be a threat to Netflix, but it's not.
No,
Nothing
yeah.
is a threat to Netflix. Netflix
I know.
keeps cranking out the best stuff.
Yeah,
It's like
Well-
unparalleled.
Okay, so Netflix keeps cranking out a ton of stuff. So
The best
we don't talk about the misses here. We're
Well,
talking
this is
about the
it.
good
Of
ones.
course, if you're gonna use like rapid fire, you're gonna miss a couple. I mean,
I
Sure.
know, but they have had a lot of good shows.
and
they-
Bill is nice enough to scan them and make us talk about them on the show.
Well, I was actually
He'll
going to
find
thank
all the bad ones for us. That's what Bill. That's why we love you, Bill.
I was going to thank Bill for turning us on to a show that was actually going to still be on Netflix after we got our episode out
That's
this
true.
week.
And you know, and thank you for Tusk and the PTSD, and thank you for what Under the Skin and the absolute complete confusion that ensued. And it's like, yeah.
He's not going to
now-
let that go, Bill.
I don't know.
I'm not gonna let that
I don't
go.
know if I don't think we mentioned it last time, but I saw a news report or a story that Under the Skin is now the premise for that is in a bidding war for a couple of different companies that want to produce a series based on Under the Skin. So that could be
There you
very
go.
interesting. Maybe, John, you'll get some of your answers.
Could there be a series if the series is actually true to the original?
Well, the
I think there
original is a
could.
book.
The
So,
original show. I imagine the book actually lays out a lot more premise than the movie did.
I'm
you'd have
guessing
to.
that the bidding war is based on the book and not the movie.
Ah, okay, that makes sense. That does.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
So
like, Like, there's a new Dune movie coming out this year. And
Yes.
I know.
Put
I'm
it
looking
in
forward to
my eyes.
Say what?
Put it in my eyes.
I know. I'm right there with you. It's like, I'm going to love this. I like the original Dune movie. I love the books. And it's like the movie, the 1984 movie is in no way even, there's very little connection.
The 84 movie was the one that had Patrick Stewart in it, wasn't it?
And Sting.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Sting's role was, I was expecting more from Sting, but, it's all good.
I mean, the 1984 movie, though it still had a fair amount in common with the book.
It did.
But it's its own classic, though.
It is. No, the books are just awesome. It's thousands of pages. It's like, but you can't put it down. You just can't. It's so good. But it's like, I wouldn't know how to be true to the book, tell you the truth.
I listened to it on audiobook again very recently, and it still holds up. It's just one of those. It's such a good book. Like, Frank Herbert had some good dialogue in there, some good plot twists.
But the 1984 movie was not true to the book per se. This will probably not be true to the book. It'll have interpretation. Under the Skin was, I don't know. It's an interpretation, shall we say? I don't know what the book would have looked like. The book would have had to explain things, wouldn't it? I mean,
does having seen the movie make you want to read the book? To see if there's answers?
Not really. No, it's like it makes me. I would like to ask the author some questions though about how he feels about the movie. But
Chris, did you see Under the Skin, or have you seen it?
No, I haven't seen that one.
Don't do it. Don't save the 2 hours of your life.
I think you might like it, Chris. It's a
thinker.
If you like movies that make you think.
Off Netflix now. You can't see it. Sorry.
I'll find it somewhere.
Too bad.
It'll be out there.
Now that we're talking about Netflix again, maybe we should talk about Warrior Nun.
Yeah, I think so. That's a new series that is recently released out on Netflix, and Linda and I have finished it. I think, Chris, you've seen it all. Seth's kind of got a good start on it, and John's partway through episode 1, so we'll try not to spoil it too much for John.
He's doomed.
Sorry, it looks good, but also this is the weekend that Umbrella Academy came out, so it's like,
There's another one I need to watch.
You will love it.
I haven't started really that yet, so I'll have to start that. So Warrior Nun, briefly. Seth, you want to talk about?
I was going to ask Chris to give us the brief.
Oh, yeah. All right, Chris.
He knows more about it than I do.
That's true.
Well, one thing to note is that there are some comics that kind of give a little bit more premise on Warrior Nun and maybe where it originated from. But, essentially, figure out how to get around this without any major spoilers for those who haven't seen it.
No, I don't worry about me.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, so, give me some minor spoilers about where I haven't seen, but,
Yeah, it's all good. I'm still going to watch it, so it's all good.
Yeah, the main character, Ava,
yeah,
basically is thrust into this world of, these warrior nuns and you're fighting demons and everything like that, when she's basically, risen from the dead, when this magical halo is placed into her. And kind of the story follows her and her having to kind of accept her quote unquote destiny. I have kind of pros and con thoughts about that. But it follows her and her path with these warrior nuns and fighting against demons, angels, things of that nature. It was pretty good. It is another action type series. But I caution it starts out a bit slow. It starts action packed and then it kind of slows down a bit, and you get a lot of character development. The one there on the right with the shotgun, I think they call her Shotgun Mary.
Mm-hmm.
She's pretty awesome. She's heavy arms user. The one on the left there, let me think, I have her on my list.
That's Sister Lilith.
I don't think that's Lilith.
That's Beatrice.
Sister Beatrice.
Sister Beatrice. There's another one not on the screen here, Lilith.
Right.
She's kind of also a key character in this because Lilith is, she's diehard for, warrior nuns. I kind of felt like in the beginning she thought she should have been given, the halo as the next person. That's not how it went down. So there's a struggle there between, internally with the nuns and Lilith, kind of pushing against, she's not very accepting of what happened. And so there's kind of a battle and she starts hunting Ava down, kind of how this starts.
Can you explain the halo to our
Yeah, the halo, we're led to believe it's kind of a weapon for, the leader warrior nun, and it gives them special abilities, right? Some superpowers. They can heal. They have.
That is not the halo.
Super strength.
That's a version of the halo.
Yep.
Oh.
Yes.
Yeah.
The halo is installed in the back.
Here's a nice picture going in the back, but they basically insert this halo. It looks a little gross initially, into this person's back. If you remember Tron, it kind of looks like that,
Yeah, the data disc. Yeah.
And the halo.
Tron, except now it's a halo that gives
Good
you
example.
You want to explain where the halo came from?
Yeah. So how it's explained is during some battle a while ago, I forget which.
In medieval times.
Yeah, they were fighting, and there was a female warrior there who.
She was fighting for the church, I think, right?
Yeah, she's fighting for the church, and she starts to fall in battle. Looks like she's not going to make it, and this
There it is.
quote unquote angel shows up out of nowhere and saves her life and gives her this halo.
His halo.
Kind of then on, that's what she becomes this warrior nun kind of thing.
Yeah.
Fighting.
So he takes his halo, and then puts it basically inside her back, right? And the skin kind of seals back up around it. It brings her back to life.
Yeah.
She can
And
go on
then
battling.
And then whenever one of the halo bearers, I don't know what they call them, but whenever they die, they have a special tool that they use to remove the halo, because you see a guy try and grab it and take it, and it just like burns right through his fingers.
It just vaporizes
can't
them.
be held by any like ordinary hand or anything like that. They have a special tool to kind of use it to move it from one person to the next. Yep.
Yeah. Imagine a halo that's the temperature of the sun, and you went to try to pick it up. It just vaporizes your flesh, right?
Yeah.
And it kind of does the same thing when you put it on a person's back. It just kind of sinks right into the back, but interestingly enough, then your flesh kind of seals around it.
When they removed it from the woman who had it, who was dying, it was truly gruesome.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, it was gruesome for sure.
Yeah.
Like the woman didn't say anything while she was dying. I would be like screaming. My back just turned into molten something.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's right through your spine, so maybe taking it out, she didn't feel anything,
Yeah, maybe no pain.
I don't think I'd want to risk it.
But yeah, Ava's character, she starts off the series, the series starts off with her dead.
Yes.
And the convent is under attack, and one of the other nuns, not the warrior nun, but one of the nuns who had just taken the halo out of the back of this previous person, had put it in her to hide because the next person wasn't ready yet, and nobody they didn't expect her to just come back to life.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so I think it's important here that we talk about the fact that this halo, when it's been put into one of these nuns, they become the halo bearer, and they become pretty much invincible in battle. They can't be killed. Well, they can be, but they can only be killed with a special type of metal, which they call divinium, which is metal that was was found and was part of the, I guess, shield or armor suit of that angel that gave the halo to that first nun. And so people are finding that that metal, that divinium, and they're using it in different things, explosives or bullets or whatever, to try to kill the halo bearer, whoever that happens to be. Now, the halo bearer, in addition to not being killed by normal weapons, also has the ability to see demonic creatures, whether they're incorporeal demonic things or actual physical beasts. And the one, I can't remember what kind of a beast it is. Tarask, yeah, which is this gigantic demon from the depths of hell that can smell the halo. And whenever the halo is outside of a human body, the Tarask will pick up the scent of it and begin tracking it. And once a Tarask is on the scent of the halo, it pretty much is unstoppable. So, of course, the halo, when it's removed from this warrior nun that's killed at the beginning, this halo, before it's put into another person, is exposed to the air for quite a while. And that is what gets the attention of this Tarask and brings it back to the material plane, where it can only exist for short periods of time. There's a picture.
Yeah, that thing's freaky looking.
Really freaky looking. So the advantage to us is that it can only exist in our material world for short periods of time. A few minutes or whatever. But when it's here, it can do a lot of damage in a real short period.
Yeah. So it can only exist like this, right?
Yeah.
It's like usually it travels around as like a cloud of gas, doesn't it?
Real Diablo vibes there.
I don't remember it being a cloud of gas. I think those were the
demonic influences that she's able to see. I thought.
Yeah, those were the ones that are going around and they're actually entering people and bringing out the dark sides of their personalities and making them commit evil. I think the Tarask, when he materializes, he just comes out as a Tarask and does his thing and
their business. See, now you want to talk about shitty eternities. How much would it suck to be a demon whose job is just to go around to college students and get them to be assholes for all of eternity?
Right.
That is a shit job.
Well, and probably fairly easy.
Yeah.
Exactly. No challenge.
Right.
And completely unimpressive results.
Right.
Right.
Right. Now the demons are probably just going into college kids telling them to have COVID parties.
Have what?
It's like Harold the demon.
Parties.
Harold the demon, he gets to influence CEOs, but you're stuck with these shitty college kids. No hope, no room for improvement in that job. That's eternal.
Yeah.
Yeah. How's that evaluation work anyway? So you got them to drink. Okay. Yeah. Well done. Now we're not
right.
for that.
Right.
There's probably a couple other areas we could touch on. There's a couple other, who are the bad guys or who we think are the bad guys in this series. I think we've got the
company,
the Cardinal,
the company,
yeah,
and the Cardinal. Right. Those are two major parts of the story.
Right. Right. So you get the impression when you're watching the series, and I don't want to give anything away here, but there's parts of the church that seem to be evil and other parts that are good, that want to use the halo for good.
Okay, now Bill.
Yes.
Are you saying that part of the Catholic Church might be evil?
I am.
It's
Careful.
a movie, Seth. It's a movie.
Right.
It's a movie.
It's a
Oh, not reality. Okay.
Yeah.
Actually, what I probably should have said is that the movie kind of takes a little bit of liberty in that they present portions of the church as good.
It's kind of. Did you all catch the part where the Anna is her name? Ava was a paraplegic.
Yeah,
we didn't mention
actually,
that. You did. Yeah.
When she's given the halo and she's brought back from the dead, one of the things that she gets back is her ability to walk, because she couldn't walk.
Yeah, and she's actually a quadriplegic.
Quadriplegic.
Yeah.
And
Right.
then this
We
guy
do
shows
see
up.
we do see at some point she does get the ability to raise one finger on her hand towards one of the nuns that's caring for her. That is absolutely horrific person.
Yeah, what's wrong with her? What's up with that? It's like she's just. How can you be mean to a paraplegic? How can you do it? A quadriplegic.
I mean,
Sorry.
Yeah.
I think we covered this under Catholic Church.
Whoa.
Well, she seemed to truly enjoy it. Like,
She did a bit, yeah.
so
Some people are just mass sadists, and they revel in it.
you treated Ava like she was like innately evil. It's like like Ava had
Catholic
done
Church.
something. What
Innate
could
evil,
Ava
yes.
have done as a quadriplegic to piss off this nun so much? It's like
Right.
I
Well,
Yeah.
I'm guessing that Ava never really bought into the Catholic or
Faith.
bought into the religious doctrines of an
that's right.
all-loving God being
Yeah,
a
that's part of
paraplegic.
I think that's part of the story where it starts to slow down a little bit, because when she's given that halo and she kind of escapes in the very beginning, she wants nothing to do with them. She wants nothing to do with their story, their battle. She wants to live her life. She's got a new lease on it. She can walk. She can move. She
Right.
walks things. She wants to have, boyfriend. She wants to get out and hang out with people, and that's part of the struggle of the series.
Yeah, and I think one of the interesting, cool things about it is that because her whole life, from the time of a very young child, when she was in this auto accident, she's been a quadriplegic. She's never been out and done a lot of the things that kids that are her age and out in the world now just take for granted. Going to bars and having relationships and walking and running
Picking
and
up
dancing
a glass of water.
and dancing. Yeah. Any of that stuff. And so
jumping into a pool and remembering you can't swim.
yes, right.
Yes.
So there's a lot of that kind of stuff, which is makes it interesting as well to see things from that particular perspective that you don't often get. So, but yeah, I like the show. I'm looking forward to the next season of it. I think it's
What I'm saying, Netflix keeps rolling out the hits.
mhm.
Yes, Seth, they do throw out some bad ones, but
I'm not saying that they aren't like consistently making some really good stuff. I'm just saying they're also making some really bad stuff.
But who else is even competing in the area? In
Amazon's getting close.
they're getting better. They are. Like, I'm really looking forward to the new season of The Boys. I am so ready for that.
HBO Max, I'm sure once they get their content up and running.
I will try that when they release the Snyder Cut, and I'll see if I like it or not. But it's
The
like
Snyder Cut.
Justice League.
Oh.
Justice League.
Yeah,
Infinite
the
eye
original
roll.
director walked away from it because his child died. So they had Joss Whedon finish it.
Hmm.
And he says he's got a better version, and they've
Oh,
actually greenlighted funding for him to finish it. They're
Oh.
going to release it on HBO Max and sometime soon.
Next year, I thought.
Next year, I thought it was.
I
All
didn't
right.
think it was this year, but maybe it is.
Whenever they do it, I'll sign up for HBO Max and see if I
Yeah.
like it.
HBO Max right now has got some real momentum issues, just based on the fact that they do not have a presence on Roku or Amazon Fire TV.
I agree with that. I have a Roku that I use in my office, and I don't have it.
Yeah.
I have the HBO Now is the subscription I came from. I was grandfathered in HBO
Yeah.
Max, but I'm
Mhm.
annoyed right now because series that if I go to another TV and it's been upgraded to HBO Max, I can watch a series on there, but it doesn't sync back to HBO Now.
Right.
Roku
And that's what's keeping me off of a lot of what
It
I
is
want to watch on
driving me.
HBO Max is I can't watch it in my office.
And that
Yeah.
seems like a big miss. I don't understand the reasoning behind
I don't
it.
get that either. Yeah.
Well, it's probably that they didn't have the apps ready. I don't know
No,
why.
No,
why
that's not
it's
it.
taken months and months and
can't-
we still don't
That-
have them.
Yeah,
I
that's not the case. The apps have been ready for all the platforms. The problem right now is that there is a war going on, and
Of course.
We imagined that it was going to be a war between content providers, where you would see Netflix fighting with Amazon or Disney or whatever for subscribers. And it's actually now turning into a war between content providers and content distributors.
Mhm.
And it's a battle over who has the rights and the ability to gather data on subscribers.
Mm.
That is the biggest question right now. HBO Max, in their app, they want to have sole access to subscriber data, which they will then sell back to other parties, including content distributors, advertisers, and things like that. But that's where a lot of the real money is in tracking subscribers' habits, views, interests, and figuring out how to market to them.
Roku's not
And-
going to pay for that.
Typical.
What's that?
Roku's not going to want to pay for that.
No, they don't. They want to have access to it. They want to have access to that data. And so that's the huge sticking point now. And so does Amazon. Amazon and Netflix both want that data. And that is where the big battle is right now with HBO Max. HBO Max had the apps ready to go, but they haven't completed that agreement.
So how did they work that out with Apple then?
Roku, though. I do. I get Amazon through my Roku. Why can't I get this through my Roku?
Well, exactly.
But because HBO and Roku have not come to an agreement yet. And also because Roku now is looking at these platforms that are coming out that have a much more massive subscriber base, and they want a larger piece of that revenue puzzle. So they not only want the subscriber data, but they want to charge the provider a higher premium based on the fact that they've got this huge subscriber base. So that's where it's at right now. And they said
They don't.
What do you mean? Yeah, they do.
Really?
Roku's awesome.
They don't have a huge subscriber base.
Oh, yeah,
They've
do.
They've got a huge user base.
Right.
User
people
base,
on
not a subscriber base, but a huge user base.
right.
Yeah, lots and lots and lots of people get their streaming services via the Roku sticks.
No, I thought you were talking about HBO Max. Sorry.
Oh, yeah. No,
No, Roku does, yeah. I mean, being one of them myself.
Yeah, we've got a few Roku sticks in the house.
yeah.
Yeah, so there's actually an article that just came out. It was like a July 15th, and it's both Peacock, which is the new streaming service for
Yeah.
NBC.
NBC, and HBO Max. And neither of them are on Roku or Amazon's Fire TV. And that's the reason.
And I will not watch them then. So
Right.
That's fair. That's true. That's what it ends up being.
So what I've been doing, which works well because I have subscription to HBO Max, is I have my my Google Pixel book in the living room by my couch, and so I will just pick that up, find what I want to watch on HBO Max there, and then I just Chromecast it to my TV because I have one of those Chromecast sticks, and that works.
What's on HBO Max?
Well, they've got all the Harry Potter stuff. They've got all the DC stuff. They have Rick and Morty.
Have all the Miyazaki movies.
Yeah.
Yeah, they actually have quite a bit. Everything that was in their initial HBO subscriptions for now is in there, and then some on Max.
Right. So they've got all the Bill Maher stuff. They've got John Oliver, all of the stuff from the HBO series. Of course, all the Game of Thrones stuff is out there. And then just lots of movies from old classic movies all the way up to current.
Oh, they've got all the Warner Brothers stuff, like
Yeah.
the Looney Tunes cartoons.
Yep.
Batman's.
Yeah, they've got Batman, Superman. A lot of those are out there. Yeah, all the DC stuff.
All
So
the
like
streaming-
if you go, you know how you go to Disney, or if you have Disney, and Disney has those different areas you can click on. Like if you want Star Wars, you click on that, and then it pulls up all the Star Wars content. HBO Max has the same type of interface where you can click on DC, and it'll pull up all the DC stuff.
And South Park.
Or Harry Potter or South
And Doctor
Park.
Who.
Yeah, they've got Doctor Who.
Oh yeah, they've got the BBC stuff.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
How much a month?
Well, it's normally it's the same as HBO Now was, so $14.99.
Yep.
But they also had a pre-launch special. If you were not currently one of their customers, you could get it for like $11.99. And so I just canceled my HBO Now, and then I just subscribed to it using one of my other email addresses as a new customer. So I got it for the $11.99 for a year.
That's what I did.
Yeah.
Except I didn't cancel an account first.
Mm. So I figured it was good to get it for, $11.99 for a year wasn't too bad for all that content that they were providing. So because we were already paying for HBO Now anyway, which is $15. So now we're saving $3 a month or whatever it is.
I'm getting tired of all these independent services, though.
Yeah, I know you are.
Well,
Yeah, but we could go back to how it is with cable, and then they charge us $150 a month.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But it's
I like this.
You're right.
I like this new world where I get to choose which services I subscribe to, and I never have to watch another ad. This is the best life.
well, it's just Disney kind of disappointed me.
Well, then don't subscribe to it. Watch The Mandalorian for a month and let it go.
I watched Mandalorian. I kept it because I wanted to keep Hulu. I guess there's better ways to keep Hulu, but
Yeah.
it's like
It makes you work to find the best thing for you. It does. It requires a lot more work.
I need Hulu for the Orville.
Yeah.
I want to watch HBO Max for the Snyder Cut. Every service, Apple TV, I want to see because they're doing the Foundation series. Peacock, I want to see because they're doing Brave New World. It's like I want to see all these things, but it's like I don't want all.
Right, and Apple
all you have to
TV
do
has that space series where I can never think of the damn name of it, where the Russians beat us to the moon. That's
Oh, yeah.
But if they're not even all going to be on Roku, then what the hell?
Yeah,
Everything
I think
except HBO Max is on Roku. You can get Apple TV on Roku now.
Yeah. I think that's going to be worked out. It's just a matter of, the negotiation going on and who ultimately has the power. And it seems to me, based on the, I guess, lack of substantial growth in HBO Max as far as its adoption by people due to the fact that it's not on Roku. It seems to me Roku has the upper hand right now, and NBC may end up, giving as well as Peacock. Because, let's face it, Roku and Amazon Fire TV are the two biggest distribution platforms out there. If you're not on those,
Yeah, there's a lot of people even with like built-in Android TVs or built-in, whatever
Roku
program,
TVs.
and they still go out and they buy a Roku or something like that. I enjoy the fact on my Roku I can just say, hey, I'm looking for this show, and it'll go through my subscriptions and find out where I can watch it for free, or if I have to pay for it because it's not covered in there. It's all there,
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, it says, this article says, everyone likes to talk about the streaming wars being between like Disney versus Netflix, but the reality is that there's hundreds of channels on cable television that have flourished and been successful. If you're not on a Roku or Amazon Fire Stick distribution platform, that is a problem for your distribution channel.
Yeah, I figured HBO Max would want to work that out before they rolled it out. That should have been step one, I would think.
Yeah, well,
I think HBO Max wanted to get out there as close to Disney as they could.
Right. And they also figured that customers would start complaining to the distribution services that they couldn't get access to their content because HBO Go is effectively gone now. That's gone. That's discontinued. HBO Now has just been rebranded as HBO Now, as HBO. And eventually I think that'll go away and just HBO Max will be left once the negotiations are complete with the content distributors. So
what do you think about streaming services that try to emerge past this point? Is there going to be too much of an uphill climb? Because I think Peacock is extremely late to the game.
Yeah. I think it depends a lot on what content they've got.
Right. Yeah. Depends on what they offer.
It's going to be first distribution. You've got to be out there and be accessible to people on the popular platforms that people are using. And then it's going to be content. I mean, CBS is out there. CBS has content out there. They've got like the new Twilight Zone series, which is okay. And then, of course, Star Trek, I think, is the other bigger draw, at least for me. And right now, they're kind of in a glut because they don't have any new Star Trek out there because the Picard series has been out for a while. Discovery is not quite ready.
They are dragging their feet on getting new content, and that's going to cost them if they don't pick it up a bit.
I mean, we're kind of seeing that happen with the DC's streaming platform. And
the extended universe?
Well, no, just their stream. DC has their own streaming channel.
DC Universe.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought that actually is dead. I thought they killed that.
It is.
And put it in the Warner Brothers site, which is now dead also, and is going to the Peacock site.
Warner Brothers is HBO Max, I think. Yeah.
It's all going to Max. Sorry.
Yeah, we'll see streaming services rise and fall. And my guess is that, like, I would almost say that CBS is eventually going to go to somebody else unless they can get a good stream of consistent new content and keep up a good subscriber base.
So here's a question for you guys then. So right now, there's all of these different streaming services out there, and they're all kind of competing with one another for subscribers. And that, to me, seems like a good way to keep subscription prices low because everybody's trying to be low enough to get subscribers. But what happens when things start consolidating and, like we see with the airlines, you get down to maybe 4 choices instead of maybe a dozen choices or maybe even 2 choices. Maybe you end up with Netflix and Amazon as your 2 choices. And at which point they can pretty much, set the subscription cost as high as they want.
Well, no, because we've already lived in that world though. For the longest time, Netflix was the only game in town. Yeah. And you had some involvement of Apple through buying digital. We're already in a world where we've got it won't be like cable where only 2 are available in your area. They're on the internet, so everyone can have at them and and subscribe or unsubscribe whenever they want to. So, they are always going to be motivated to keep their price low enough that people leave that subscription going when there's not something they want to see. Some new show they want to see out on it.
Yeah.
So
and
true capitalism.
I think we're always going to have at least 4 major players, and a ton of smaller bit players, like Showtime and other of these media or channels that were traditionally the bonus package channels on cable.
Right. Yeah.
At least until Disney buys them all.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. I wonder if that's the case because, when you think about it, and Chris, you probably would agree with this as well, that maintaining the IT infrastructure to provide access to all of this content and all of these subscribers that want to get in and get access to the content and stream it reliably is not inexpensive. And, these bit players, if they're not going to be able to charge high enough prices to make a reasonable profit and pay for all this IT infrastructure, there's going to be a disincentive for them to go it alone and maybe team up with some other service where they kind of pool their resources and pool their IT services and make it easier for them to provide that content at a reasonable price and still make a profit.
Yep. No, I 100% agree. It's not inexpensive to start.
Yeah.
I do start to wonder whether some of the smaller ones would start considering sharing that infrastructure just to cover that.
Right. Share IT resources, share hardware resources, hosting resources, that sort of stuff.
At that point, I mean, let's be real here. Amazon, Microsoft, some of those larger cloud hosting companies end up reaping that money anyway. So
right, true.
Amazon's got its own platform.
Yep.
They also have a service where they provide those cloud streaming infrastructure. So
right,
Amazon makes money no matter what at the end of the day. I think.
Right, and that cloud streaming infrastructure is not cheap.
No, it's
that
not.
Amazon hosting is expensive. We're using that, for my company as well. So, and
I will argue though that there's another problem that goes along with that, where these companies are going to start paying attention to, and that's our cable or internet providers and their data caps.
Sure, right.
As you shift to streaming and everything, that's one thing that's often ignored. It's like, oh, great, you can stream these shows. They're getting a higher quality, a lot more, 4K, higher bit rate, everything. But you still get people that are having trouble streaming that, or they have to pay just to stream those shows. Right. And in a time like now with COVID, we're all streaming more. Unless you have like unlimited data, I bet you there are people out there hitting a lot of their data caps right now.
Right, especially when you take into account, Zoom meetings that people are doing. Yep. Just either with families or friends or whatever, that all adds up. And, Seth, what you were talking about a little bit ago with Netflix, when they were kind of the only game in town and the prices were still low, back then, there were a lot more people that were subscribed to cable. And
that's true.
Cable was the alternative. And if Netflix hadn't kept their prices low, people would have just said, it's not worth it. I'll just stay on cable and, my subscription to all that content there. So I think they had a little bit of incentive to keep prices low to get people away from cable and, go with either at what was at the time the monthly CDs where you would go out and order a movie and it would be mailed to you, or you would do the subscription, the streaming service. So
cable's still there, like that's still a competitor for them.
True.
If their prices get too high and all of a sudden cable's a better deal, people will go back to cable.
I don't think cable will ever be a better deal.
I think.
But cable could have always done smart things, but they were the monopoly.
Right.
Yeah.
They got to set all the terms. They got to bundle in those stupid QVC channels.
Yeah.
They had to pay X amount to get the 3 channels you wanted to see, but with 150 others that you
a lot of people ask for a la carte cable channels for a long time. They're like, look, we're happy with cable, but I just want to pay for what I'm actually going to watch.
Right.
Yeah.
I will argue that we've shifted to the subscription based model for just paying for Netflix or HBO or whatever. Right now, at least for me personally, 4 or 5 different subscriptions, and I'm still not paying as much as I would for cable.
Yep.
All those stations. But cable, just over time, it costs too much for what you get.
Right.
Yeah, cable could have done that decades ago.
Right.
They could have done these simple packages where you paid for the 10 channels you wanted to see the most, and you had access to those channels. You paid a smaller amount per month. They could have done that decades ago, but they didn't, and now their lunch is getting eaten by these subscription services that do exactly what we want.
Yeah.
But there's plenty of people, to Bill's point, it's still competitive though, because I know I have a lot of friends still, granted a lot of them older, but even some around my age that still, like, whenever they move or they get to a new apartment or whatever, they still get cable. It's just a normal, they're okay throwing that money away and they just do it.
For entertainment, I understand, but if you want like internet, Cox is where you go. It's not for you, Bill, but you know that you're special.
I got CenturyLink.
No, actually, Bill, tell people what really this fucking pisses me off.
There goes the clear rating.
Internet, Bill.
I already
Tell
dropped
people
the
what?
F-bomb
We
earlier.
already dropped the F-bomb.
Yeah. What was your question, John?
Tell people about your fucking internet. I
Well,
want
so I've got the CenturyLink gigabit fiber service to the house.
Mhm.
So so I have gigabit Ethernet, and it's like $60 a month, and I'm locked in for life.
And it's the highest level.
and what kind
And
of
there's no bandwidth limits.
transmission speed do you get?
Yeah, I get like 900 megabits upload download speeds. So
That's what I've got.
and I'm eating up quite a bit of
Because
that
you're on.
actually.
Because you're on.
Yeah,
You're
so
on fiber.
I pay a little
Yeah.
more than double that.
What's that?
Gig speeds. I pay a little more than double that for just 1 gig download. Not even close on the upload.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're on because you're on Cox.
Yeah, because I'm on Cox, and then I also do unlimited data because I hit my data caps like I mentioned.
Oh,
So I
sure.
data
Tell
as
them,
well.
tell them the secret, Bill. Tell them about how it does. They don't offer that everywhere.
Yeah,
Well,
they
because
don't.
they don't have fiber,
Fiber
everywhere.
Yeah,
Right.
I'm hearing a clicking sound. I want to hear Bill say. I want to hear Bill say it. They don't
I
offer.
don't know what you're mad about, man.
because he's not a real boy. He
Well,
gets
because-
all the neat stuff.
Right, so
I have it too,
CenturyLink-
though.
We were fortunate in that CenturyLink came out to our neighborhood because
We were
they
one of
wanted
the
to do a
first
trial of their
Places. Yep.
their service that would compete with Cox, their
Yeah.
their cable equivalent service that they would distribute on fiber. So they came out here and pulled fiber into this neighborhood, and then they
So
for-
you're telling me that they actually came to you to ask you to use their fast internet?
Yeah, they did the
Oh,
same
all the
thing.
time.
so
Seth,
so what happened was
No
there.
matter, Seth. You the reason you got it,
I don't matter.
the entire reason that it exists is because of Bill. You got it by accident.
No,
Fine for
I got it because CenturyLink wants to eat Cox's lunch right now.
Yes,
And
Right.
they're working on
but
it.
not enough to give it to me.
It's coming to you. You just have to be patient. Like, they have to build out the network.
Right.
Like, that's what fiber's always been, is me waiting for someone to finally build the network out to me.
But
And
why did they
fiber's
build
much
it- Why did they
faster.
start building it at Bill's house?
10
Can I
years
argue
ago.
that they're
Hold on,
spending
we don't know. That's where probably where the demographics said that people could afford it, or
Yeah.
like they'd have a good return on investment, or maybe it was just easier
Demographics
to build
don't matter because at the end of the day, they're cheaper and you're getting more, which means everybody can afford it. Because if they're paying for Cox, they're still paying more than what they're going to
End
pay.
of the day,
Yep.
Bill's not a real boy, and he gets everything that Bill he ever wants. He doesn't even know he's getting it. It's like it's.
You know who you sound like? You know who you sound like, John?
Get off my lawns.
You sound like Dr. Doom bitching about Reed Richards.
Yeah, I'll take it. I'll take it.
But I
Goddamn
on
Reed
that because
Richards gets
I was
everything.
like,
I'm the smarter man, and I'm going to do what I can to destroy the Fantastic Four.
I will throw water balloons at you all day. Get off my lawn, Reed Richards.
Get off of my Latvian lawn.
Yes, my Latvian lawn.
Okay, then.
You guys haven't even heard the drone story with me and Audie.
Really? You're just gonna dig this in deep. Okay,
Yeah,
go
I
ahead.
think
Let's do
we've
it.
gotten. We're
We're
fairly
getting off track quite a bit.
an
But
hour in, so I don't know if we've got time for Bill's drone adventures today.
yeah, probably not. We'll save
No,
that
it's
for a
not, it's
future
not
episode.
Bill's drone adventure. It's going to be Bill's privilege adventure. So, and I think we always have time for Bill's privilege adventure.
Okay, we've had it already. So
Yeah.
We'll save that story for another episode. Well, let's see. I think we've covered everything. Did you want to mention your Stargazer rumor, John?
Oh, the
Yeah.
yes, I got this off of Red Shirts Always Die.com.
Okay.
Star Trek fans would love a Stargazer series with a younger Picard. Basically, the Stargazer was Picard's ship much earlier in his career. I think it was his first command. And he loved that.
And
Yeah.
something went wrong.
Say what?
Something went wrong with that, right?
Yeah. Well, no, it was.
Well, he lost it, and then the Ferengi found it. There was a whole show about that, but it's like he loved the Stargazer. There was a whole. It's kind of like it was his first command, his first 5-year mission.
Yeah.
And like, would you like to see that? Would you like to? And if so, who would you like to see play Picard?
I have no idea.
How about the guy that played Shinzon?
I was thinking that might be a good idea. I might be able to get around that.
Yeah.
I think he would do a fine job.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, yeah.
There's the Stargazer.
Ugliest ship ever.
It is ugly.
Yeah,
it's not pretty.
that looks like a salad. That looks like some sort of like salad dish with a weird handle.
a chafing dish.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does. But I mean, who's the guy?
Sous vide. That looks kind of like a sous vide with a weird handle.
Who's the guy who played? Who's the guy who played Professor X? That wasn't Patrick Stewart.
Oh yeah. God damn it.
Yeah, I know his name's not, but he has actually expressed
McAvoy?
interest in doing that.
Oh, really? Yeah,
he
he'd be good.
He would like to be that captain. I think he'd do a fine job.
Yeah, probably better than the guy that played Shinzon.
James McAvoy.
Yeah, James McAvoy.
James McAvoy. Well, the guy who played Shinzon went on to be the guy who played Bane in.
So basically, are we advocating for James McAvoy to be the new Patrick Stewart?
Yeah,
someone's got to be because
he followed him in X.
Take over for Patrick Stewart.
Yeah.
Someone has. All right, someone's had to take over for William Shatner because, as awesome as Bill is, he's getting up there.
Well, we don't have one actor who is doing all of William Shatner's roles, whereas
James
McAvoy is Professor X, and now we're gonna say he's gonna be the new
Picard.
Well, Patrick Stewart is on board with the idea, and it's
I'm on board too. I just think it's kind of funny.
Yeah. How would you like to be known as the actor that follows Patrick Stewart everywhere?
Young Patrick Stewart.
Yeah,
you are young Patrick Stewart, and then we'll have somebody who replaces him, and they will be like the third iteration of Patrick Stewart.
Well, whatever happens,
you have to be British and look good bald.
This is one case where I vote for them taking a lot of liberties in the upgrading of the appearance of the Stargazer to be something more.
It looks like a garbage hauler.
You saw what they did to the Enterprise.
Yeah, I liked what they did to the Enterprise in Discovery. I think it looked sharp.
I am sure that they would take the same liberties with the Stargazer.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm sorry, but at this point, I just had to show this because I think it's hilarious.
What's this?
What are we looking at? Oh.
Let's see. Oh.
Well, let's hope they're still not fighting COVID in the 24th century.
Well, at the rate we're going.
At least they'll probably be fighting COVID in the U.S. anyway.
Right.
Did you come from the area formerly known as the United States? Well, then you're going to have to go through the transporters.
Right.
We got to clean you up.
Right. All right. Well, that's good. Unless anybody has any other last-minute things they want to throw in, I think we're ready to wrap her up.
No, thanks for joining us again, Chris.
Yeah. Thank you, Chris. Appreciate it. Always love your insight and stuff. So thank you all for joining us. Be sure to check out our website if you like the show, galacticdriftwood.space, where you can find previous episodes and some interesting and funny shows for sure. And then you can also check out Synergy Nation Network, SYN, S-Y-N, Nation.net. And you can find our show there as well as a bunch of other shows with different content.
Shows like Running Up the Tab and The Weekly Geekly.
And Go RPGs with our friend Benito. Yeah. So check that out.
check out our supercasts too.
Yes, Synergy Nation Network. We get together once a month, and actually this afternoon's our next one, where we do a supercast, which is where the hosts of all the different shows get on together, and we all talk about whatever trips our trigger that particular day. So who knows what it could be about?
Lots of drinking and ADHD discussion,
which is always exciting. So anyway, thanks for joining us, folks. We'll see you again in 2 weeks. Take care and be safe out there. Bye-bye.
Later.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Galactic Driftwood Podcast. For more information and past episodes, please visit our website at galacticdriftwood.space or subscribe to us on YouTube. And now, please deactivate your cranial downlinks, collect your towels, and be sure to watch your step as you exit our gravity well.